This is my Nespresso coffee machine, and this is my new Nespresso Vertuo machine. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about both the machines and the different capsule systems to help you make a decision about which one's right for you. Let's get to it. Hi, I'm James, and welcome to Mostly Helpful. This is the second and final part of a video series where I've been looking at my new Nespresso Vertuo Next coffee machine, and in today's video I'm going to be comparing that to this Nespresso machine which uses the original capsules. In order to make that comparison, we're going to be looking at three criteria. 1, convenience, 2, the coffee, and 3, the cost. So starting with convenience then, the first thing I want to do right now is actually make a coffee. So let's talk about these machines. This is my machine. I've owned this for a year and I find this very easy to use. It's very simple. You can do everything one-handed like this, and as you can see, it's very easy and compact. It takes up a similar footprint to this machine over here, and in terms of ease of use, it's very simple. You've got an espresso button on here and a double espresso button here. The Vertuo machine is a little different. You can operate it one-handed, but you need to be reasonably kind of strong in the hand. And it's only got one single button up here because it determines the amount of volume it flows into the capsule because of this barcode that's on the capsule itself. But in terms of ease of use, they're both very simple. They're both 1 or 2 button machines. There is nothing complicated here, and there's not a great deal to decide between the two of them. There is one benefit of the Vertuo machine that I've noticed, and that is if you brew a coffee in one of these machines and you forget to eject the capsule like that, you can then come along, press the button again, and you can vend through a used capsule. It doesn't stop you doing that. This machine does. Once you've vended through a capsule, if you don't eject it, which is doing that process, it will not let you activate the system again until you've ejected that capsule. So that is certainly one of the benefits that I spotted of this machine. In terms of water quantity at the back, they're actually, they have very, very similar sized tanks. I did a little experiment earlier and filled up one tank from the other, and the water levels are very, very similar. But this machine, because it can take these larger capsules, you're likely to be filling up that tank more regularly than this machine, which takes this single size of capsule. So let's talk about the coffee, and while we do that, I'm going to just make a coffee. I'm going to use the Scuro here for this one. Let's power on that machine. This machine, interestingly, powers on as soon as you lift that lid, although it's just powered off, but as soon as you do that, it powers itself on. You don't need to press anything. And then this is a double espresso Scuro, so I should be getting similar vend quantities from both. It's worth noting that this machine uses a pressure system and this machine uses a centrifugal system. I think Nespresso called it centrifusion. So the capsule actually spins inside at some crazy rate, 1000 RPM or something like that. And what that creates is a very different effect on the coffee. So in this machine, you get a standard crema. Let's vend this one now. So what you have here is a crema that's created by pressure, the pressure of the water flowing through that capsule. In this machine, it creates a crema through aeration of the coffee, and there's a really excellent video by James Hoffman that talks all about how the Vertuo system works. He does a much better job of it than I will do. But let's vend this one and I'll demonstrate how different it is. And there we go, that one's finished. And as you can see, they look very similar. This one's a little bit shorter, and the reason for that is that the Vertuo system determines how much water to vend through by virtue of the type of capsule you've got. This is a single espresso, a Peru, that will give 40 ml. That one we've just put in there is a double espresso, that gives 80 ml, so I'm assuming that's 80 ml, I haven't checked. And then you get the larger capsules that give you a greater size, that's a mug size at 230. These machines, this button, if I remember correctly, is programmed to 40 ml and this one is programmed to 110, but there's a bit of variation. You can program that down if you wanted an 80 ml double espresso. So you've got some capability to adjust your coffee, whereas in these machines, you get it how the pod kind of wants you to get it. When taking espresso or double espresso, I do find that there isn't a great deal of difference between the two systems. The difference I've really noticed is with these big capsules, it creates a very large foamy coffee head. It isn't a crema in the true sense of the word, because you'll see, I'll insert some video here that shows what happens after 5 minutes. It kind of loses its kind of aeration, I suppose, and then gradually over time it diminishes. But it doesn't diminish cleanly in the way that a pressure-based crema does. So what you end up with is a sort of coffee, I hesitate to use the word scum, that flows down the inside of the mug, which I find personally a little bit unappealing. But I know that a lot of people value how their coffee looks, and you can see that the head, if that's the right word, on this is diminishing much more rapidly than this one is here. And that, I think, is the difference with these machines. From a coffee point of view as well, though, you've got a good amount of choice in the Vertuo capsule system, but you've got much more choice currently in the original capsule system, and that's not surprising. It's been around a lot longer. Vertuo system's actually been on the market since 2014, but I think Nespresso have been really pushing it in the last 18 months to 2 years, and certainly all the deals in the Nespresso shop on machines are on this kind of machine, the Vertuo machine. You almost don't see deals on the original machines anymore. The other benefit of these machines now is that you can get coffee from other retailers, because the patent's ended on this style of capsule. You can go to Starbucks, you can go to Costa, you can go to Cafe Nero. There are any number of people that will sell you capsules compatible with this machine. So if you run out of coffee and you haven't had your regular order for an Nespresso, if you're doing mail order or you haven't been to the Nespresso shop, you can go to your local supermarket and get capsules of coffee for this machine. But what you can't do is you can't go and get Vertuo capsules for that machine unless you go to an Nespresso shop. Anyway, time to try this coffee, and then we will talk about the cost. So, talking about cost, with respect to the machines, currently, if you go on Nespresso's UK website today, this machine, the Vertuo Next, is £149, and this machine that it is £159. So very little in price in terms of the machines. In terms of the coffee, I think it's fair to say that if you go for a Vertuo machine, no matter what capsule you're going to buy, you're always going to be paying more for the equivalent capsule. And to give you some idea, this is a Peru espresso capsule. It's a 40ml capsule, and that is 57 pence, or £5.70 for 10. And this is equally an espresso capsule, but for this machine, and that is 51 pence, or £5.10. So a small difference, but over time, depending on how much coffee you have, a difference that you will notice. The gap gets wider when you start talking about these bigger capsules. That gives you a mug of coffee, 230ml, kind of this sort of size really. That is 66p, or £6.60 for 10. That is the same coffee. Both of these are Colombia from the Master Origins range. That obviously gives you a smaller coffee, but it's 47 pence. Now there's an interesting point here, and this mug will tell you why we're talking about it, which is that previously, what I used to do is I'd use this machine, vend a coffee into a mug, and then fill that back up with hot water from a kettle. And that is how I like my coffee. I know some of you will find that horrendous, that I'm drinking my coffee that way, but that is how I like it. An espresso with hot water up to the top. No sugar, no milk, nice and simple. I really hoped with this Vertuo machine that we would get to a position where I could just move to these capsules and then wouldn't have the boiling the kettle process. But there's partly the cost reason. There's 19p between those, and I'm absolutely confident it doesn't cost 19p to boil a kettle for a small amount of water for a coffee. But secondly, the foam that you get on one of these there's just too much of it for me. I don't like it. I like it like this, where you get a very light layer. And in fact, I went into my local Nespresso store shortly after buying that machine and said, is there any way I can stop the machine creating that much foam with these larger capsules? And was told, no, it's all done on the barcode. There's no control in the machine. So if you like that foam, that's great. But if, like me, you don't want that foam, you don't find it appealing, then these capsules give you something that you don't want. So in terms of cost, for me and what I want, I I feel reluctant paying extra for those because it doesn't give me what I want. And then all I'm really comparing is a 40ml capsule in a Vertuo system to a 40ml capsule in a original system. And as I've shown in that one, there's a 6p difference. So every coffee is going to cost me 6p, and I have 3 a day, so it's going to be 20p a day. I mean, it's not an enormous amount of money, but it's £1 a week, £50 a year. So there is definitely a cost implication of going for this. So with all those 3 criteria looked at, let's summarise. In terms of the machines and the convenience of the systems, I think that there is much to like about both of them. If you think of convenience being that you can access capsules outside of the Nespresso world from your supermarket, then this system is more convenient because you can go to your supermarket and buy Costa capsules or Sainsbury's capsules, whatever. Whereas with this system, you have to go and order direct from Nespresso or go to a Nespresso store. In terms of the coffee, they've both got lots of choice, a bit more choice on this one, but I think anybody would be able to find something they like across either of these systems. The only thing from my point of view to watch out for is see if you can, if you're unsure about whether you like that foamy head, see if they will give you a demonstration in store, or see if you know somebody who's got one already who can give you a coffee of that style in order that you can test it. It's been really disappointing from my point of view. I thought it would be beautiful, velvety, and like a cappuccino without the frothing of the milk hassle, but it isn't like that at all. It looks lovely, but it doesn't feel or taste lovely. And then I think in terms of cost, the machines are negligible in terms of cost difference. I think though if you go for a Vertuo machine, you'll see a little bit more cost over life simply because the capsules are more expensive. There is a tiny bit of an environmental concern as well that I haven't really touched on, but just physically these are bigger, there's clearly more material in them, these are much more compact, they take up a lot less room. But what that means for me is that this machine is going up for sale. I've used it, I've enjoyed experimenting with it, but I don't think it materially improves on what I have here, and that for me is the important thing. Does this fundamentally do something better than this machine for me? And for me, it doesn't. Do let me know what you think about these systems. Have you experienced a Vertuo? Do you prefer the original? Let me know. If you've liked this video, do hit that like. If you like this kind of content, then please do consider subscribing. It really helps the channel. And I look forward to coming to you in a new video very soon. Thanks and goodbye.